Mr. Luetkemeyer is now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chopra, welcome. Last time you were here, we discussed your schedule, about the fact that you don't meet with people from the industry. We showed your schedule to you. You made some comments about it. We said we sent you a letter and asked you to fill in the blanks and tell us that you actually did meet with people in the industry. You didn't respond. You responded to us with a letter, but you didn't respond and explain the lack of data in that schedule. So from that, I can assume two or three things here. Number one, the letter was to myself, Mr. Azinga, Mr. Barr. You thumbed your nose at us and said you're not worthy of a response, or else we were correct in that you're not meeting with industry people, as they tell us, or both, which I think that's probably the case. Very disappointing. Well, very disappointing.
Let me just say that there are many industry associations we have done.
Mr. Chopra, we've been down this before. The problem is you don't meet personally. Your staff does.
No. I meet personally. And
no, you don't. No, you don't. Your schedule doesn't back that up.
Since you
want to move on.
Please allow the gentleman to answer.
Reclaiming my time, I want to move on to another subject here. One is regulation by legislation by regulation. Director, you've clearly chosen to regulate by press release guidance and the threat of enforcement action instead of through rulemaking governed by the Administrative Procedures Act. As you know, the APA allows for public notice and comment on proposed rules, which gives regulated entities an opportunity to provide feedback and ensure their concerns are incorporated in agencies' rules in order to produce workable policies. Since public statements are not rulemakings or official actions, and the guidance you issue is not legally binding, are financial institutions and firms within their rights if they do not adhere to your proclamations?
Do not, I could not hear.
Okay. Since public statements are not rulemakings or official actions, and the guidance you issue is not legally binding, are financial institutions and firms within their rights if they do not adhere to your proclamations?
Yes, so guidance, advisory opinions, others, they don't create new obligations. So one of the pieces of feedback this committee has given is concerns about using enforcement only. So I have continued a practice from my predecessor, Director Kraninger, to issue more informal guidance and opinions because it helps give transparency about what the approach the agency is taking.
Okay,
so it's not intended to create any new.
That doesn't answer my question. Now, my question is, are the firms within their rights to not adhere to your proclamations or these guidance?
No, they have to follow statute and regulation.
That's not my question. Yeah. They're within their rights then to not adhere to your proclamations and your guidance. Is that correct?
I think I'm trying to be responsive. I think the answer is yes. They only have to look to statute and regulation. That's what is binding.
Right. Okay,
so these other forms, we got input from the Consumer Bankers Association a few years ago that they wanted to see more guidance and advisory opinions.
It's clarification that you're using these guidance and official actions with.
Well, I think what we're trying to do is that the market is so dynamic and it changes so much. So we often have entities saying, do I need to hire a lawyer
that's fine to discuss it. I know what you're trying to do, Director, but it's not enforceable. That's my point.
It's trying to restate existing law and
It's not enforceable. Is that correct?
That's right. I'm sorry if
guidance is not enforceable, correct?
It does not provide any legal
clarifications through official documents, your bulletins here. That is not a compliance bulletin. That is not enforceable, correct?
That does not provide any obligation, so there's nothing to enforce.
So it's not enforceable. That's your statement. You agree with that?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Finally got to there. It's very disconcerting because you've got compliance bulletins here. I think there's 12 compliance bulletins and opinions, which is great. Gives clarification to folks. This is not enforceable. This is very concerning to me because you turn around and you threaten different entities all the time. You become the greatest extortionists in history of this country by what you're doing with these actions when you issue press releases, make up new words like junk fees. Junk fees is not a legal term. It is not an enforceable term. I've checked it with attorneys. I've looked at the people who design and work through financial legal dictionaries. This is not an enforceable term. You made it up to give yourself more authority to be able to have more impact on things and extort more money from people.
I completely and respectfully disagree with that. Every action we have taken is based on laws that this body has enacted, but through legislation.
Director, junk fees is not a legal term. It is not an enforceable term, period. Just like guidance is not enforceable. And yet you try and impose that on people. extrapolate from the UDAP authority, using the term junk fees, to be able to have new authorities. You can't create authorities out of thin air. Only Congress can give you that authority, and you're creating it yourself. With that, I yield back.
Gentlemen,